Hey, hey everybody, where is Mr. V? Your name keeps moving around.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hey V, Mr. V.
What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Thanks for taking a minute away from your children, dude.
No
I know
worries,
your
bro.
daughter's was getting
This
with fever.
this is important to me, and I'm really appreciative of like the chat we had a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad we're getting together, and I see the numbers kind of escalating up. So anybody from my community coming through for this chat, I wanted you to meet this handsome gentleman in the middle of the woods in Europe. Uh, we got this chop up about a month ago. So why don't we get some context on you? We got a great event coming up on August 4th. Nate, why don't you tell them about that, and then maybe a little bit about
Appreciate
your
it.
career, and then I know you said on DM earlier you wanted to ask some questions. We'll take it from there.
For sure. Thank you, yeah,
Of
for
course.
jumping on the line and like really just being open to have conversations, you know. And so my story, I grew up in Connecticut and I'm in the advertising industry for all you who are new to my brand personally and professionally. So my name is Nate Nichols. I have a brand agency called Palette Group. My life partner is my business partner. And I originally started hustling when I was like 16 back in Connecticut, and
Let's go.
it's insane. I started working at a clothing line then. I went to art school down in Philadelphia. I didn't know a single soul,
Were you
and I
always were you always artistic, like drawing and shit?
1000%, thousand
Yeah.
percent. Even as a child, it was the only place I felt self-expressed. I couldn't feel like myself anywhere else, not in my home, not outside of my home, and art and being a creative was the only place I could feel my identity being real, and being seen.
Love that.
And so,
And were you getting positive reinforcement from it? Like when you're putting out work, people are like, "Yo, your shit's dope. Like you're good at this." Like was
totally.
that a yeah? 'Cause to me, I'm starting to realize, oh shit, business was that for me. That was my art. That's
Yep.
where I would get the positive reinforcement. School, I sucked.
Yep.
Sports, I was good early, but then size took over. And
Yep.
so I
Yep.
get it.
Yep. Same, dude. I played football for 6 years and I just stopped growing. I had like the attitude of like a 6'5" man, but my body's still 5'6", you
Bro, I
know?
got the attitude of like I got the attitude of a 7'9" basketball player, but not the
Word.
shape.
Word. And so yeah, I
Go
went
ahead,
to
keep going.
school in
So then what
Philly
happened?
and hustled my ass off. In college I had like 300 plus clients. I met my first mentor. He taught me all my business fundamentals, and he put me in front of rooms of people to give talks and sell in front of 30 strangers nightly. And that just kind of, really, really, really sculpted my business acumen, my ability to communicate and sell and be strategic. And then while I was going to art school, I was just honing my creativity and my ability to be a social media marketer. And I was able to like just finesse my way out of college onto a Hyundai project. My first advertising project was on a multi-million dollar campaign with Hyundai.
Wow,
And I was managing their Twitter with an art school degree.
wow, good for
And
you.
and at the time, this is the most important part I feel like of my story, is my ground zero in advertising was I was living on a mattress in a warehouse in North Philly with a 55-year-old man as my roommate. And we were in a 2,000 square foot space in a 300,000 square foot warehouse. And that was my ground zero. I had no one to support me. There was no foundation. I had thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt from college. And that was my first, you know, get at in advertising. And not many people have the privilege of having someone that has a generational wealth or set them up for success in college and put them in housing. And, I had none of that. I was still eating cans of food and still hustling and learning how to figure out how to be a creative entrepreneur while living in a warehouse, going to the gym to shower every day. That was my life on a Hyundai campaign managing Twitter. And we sold cars. We kicked ass. And that's how I started.
I love it. And where'd you go from there?
So my first soiree in agency life was a boutique agency based in New York, and work remote, helped them grow to about $250,000 in revenue the first year, managing the social, managing the new biz, and
Social,
then
social and new biz was kind of your two pillars, huh?
yep, yep. And then I just sort of like figured out this wasn't for me. Like the company that I built, the team that, we had developed, and just the business wasn't a reflection of my values and the type of creative that I wanted to put into the world. And so, I decided that, I needed to start Palette Group. And I founded Palette Group, and that was a full self-expression of who and how I did things. And I want to bind that business, that boutique business, from the gentleman who founded it. And, he set me up for success. He was a true ally. And he sold me the business with a month-to-month payment, and I scaled that into a multi-million dollar operation which is, now working with brands like Foot Locker, we're working with brands like Chevrolet. We work with a brand in Philadelphia called City Fitness, which we turned their brand all the way around
And when we
in the
and
city
when
of
we've been
Philadelphia.
and when we've been talking, you've been in Europe. Is that where you live, or I mean, now with the new world, it's crazy. But
Anyway,
where do you say Palette Group kind of like live?
so we're based in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy.
Yeah,
We originally founded in Philadelphia, moved to Brooklyn 3 years ago, and right now we're in Europe because quarantine life. My life partner she's from Germany,
love it.
and we're just here in the Black Forest, just working remotely. And recently we
Before
started producing this. Yeah,
go, I just wanted to be conscious because I know you said like you wanted to get some
just
questions in.
questions.
But yeah,
Yep,
so um, before we get to that, let's just make sure that the 1,000 people here know what's happening next week. Give them all the details and how they can find it, because that's for me. Nate and I were talking the other day. He's like, "Hey, can we, want to promote the event?" I'm like, "Good, let's get on live. That's the best way we can get as many people and chop it up." So let's give that plug, and then happy to answer those questions before I
for
bounce.
sure, for sure. So Stephanie and I started producing these virtual experiences and these virtual events in March. And, when George Floyd was murdered, I was fucking energized and fired up. My partner was just as energized and fired up as I was. And for the first time, I felt seen in my entire life. I felt like people were starting to feel what I felt in the pain and the suffering of Black people in America and Black people around the world. So we decided to do Allyship in Action, a virtual summit that happens. We did it for our first one a month ago. The next one's going to be this next Tuesday coming up. Gary Vee's on the panel where, excuse me, we're bringing the entire advertising industry together to talk about racism in the advertising industry, from discrimination when it comes to casting to how many Black people do you have in your C-suite? How many people of color do you have in your team? Period. Like, how are you retaining them? How are you making them feel comfortable in the spaces that you are, saying you lead a culture of like, you have the most fun here, but like, are people feeling alienated? And that's what you have to understand is that being Black in America is a fucking challenge. And this is not an easy conversation. It's never going to be easy. It's not comfortable being a Black person in America, period. So, with that being said, you as someone who is a leader, right? I look at you and I'm like, here's this dude who's a straight hustler and he has millions of followers. He's designed and built a company that has multi-million dollars of, business at this point in a huge team across the globe. You have millions of followers, you have a family that you care for. So my first question to you is, how are you going about your anti-racism work, personally and professionally? How are you
Yeah.
doing that work to show up as a father, as a leader for your team, and, as someone who influences corporate America?
So obviously George Floyd gets everybody to wake up. Me Too, all these things that these are these moments, and you look at. So what we kicked in first is we just went to audit mode, and we went to where are we? We have seven. We're a bigger company, but like not as big as like the panel mates I have. So we have seven C-suite individuals, 9 global leaders because of our MDs, 6 women, 3 men, 0 Black. Right. So
Mm,
you look at that and you're like, you start talking, first I go into the trenches and I start talking to my Black employees and they're like, look, we have nobody to look at.
mm,
Right. And so the first thing we looked at is like, look, if you don't fix the well, you've lost. And I can sit there. I went to an open Q&A to the whole company and questions came in and people came in hot. And I said, look, I can sit here and talk about the fact that when I was doing all the hiring, our Black leadership was better. When But
hmm.
the reality is I'm the 100% owner of this company and this issue is 100% my fault. So
Right.
so what I decided to do is for the last month, I've been interviewing and we'll have this probably hired by Q3. Uh, what I basically committed to myself is like, look, we have seven C-suite members. I'm happy with the makeup on female, male, but by the end of the year, no later than Q1, if Jan 1 or Jan 15 starting point, I'm going to add 2 Black individuals. 2 years ago, when Me Too happened, I instituted mandate that for any senior leadership role or C-suite role, that there would be a Black and a female candidate mandated, kind of like the Rooney Rule in the NFL, and that led to some
Hmm.
good stuff. Unfortunately, out of the 4 times that we had C-suite executions in that, we made 1 female hire, 1 male hire, and 1 Black hire, but that Black hire ended up not being here when when this all went down. So to answer your question, we went into multiple mode. First, I thought the most important thing I could do is to make sure that there was representation within the organization. And that starts at the C level, not like, oh, look at Carl or look at Sarah, like they're over there. So that I'm mandating to put in place. And I think that starts there. Then then I hired Nadia Jones outside to consult, to really audit, to get a different look and to really like tell it to us how it quote unquote is. And then third of all, we're really, well, there's multiple than third of all. Third of all, we made massive donations to Black-owned businesses, matching all of our employees' donations, and then went over the top of that to tune of $50K. I did 25 of that personally because the business is not doing so great with, it was such an interesting moment, right, Nate? And you're a business owner and building something real. For this to happen
Right.
in the twofold of, we had to let go of 80 people just to make our payroll because clients weren't paying and clients were going out of business. And we have to make bank covenants, with the loans that we have. And then this comes in and you realize, it's really, I had a very contentious meeting last week where somebody said, Gary, we just had to let go of all these people. And now you're telling me I have to let go of people that are really strong because you're putting in Black employees. And I said, yes. And I said, yes. I said, let me explain it to you. Just like, remember when we had to let go of these people because if we did not, we wouldn't be able to make our bank payments and the whole company would go out of business because much bigger companies than Vayner have gone out of business. I'm like, I am saying now that I've been too passive and I'm making, and listen, I've been
You're good. You're back a little bit. Oh, you're disconnected. Oh, you're back now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I told you what's going on with my daughter, so you just
Yep.
I know we got 3 minutes, but I said yes. For us to win any game, whether it's financial, whether it's creative, whether it's anything, you've got to sometimes be the dictator. For me to be out in life and like when people ask questions like you're asking, you have to be able to answer them. And after Me Too, we got better. And after George Floyd, we're going to get better. And guess what? There's going to be other things, even though we were winning on other fronts, even though 5 out of our 15 speakers exclusive on Vayner speakers are Black, and that's a ratio that's unheard of. Even if I'm doing all the things I'm doing as Gary V and behind the scenes and everybody knows, it's still not enough because every part of your life has to be proper. And so the reality is the main mandates, creating an intern program that puts people on for historically Black colleges where I'm going to be waiving my speaking fees and really digging in. So recruitment, bringing in a chief diversity officer because it was super on point for the first 5 years. And then as it got bigger, on me, I took my eye off and I need somebody's eyes on it 24/7, 365 period. Also not being cliche and making like our only C-suite person is a Black person. No, another C-suite person minimum, and then continuing the requirement of in every single C-suite and leadership office that there is a woman and a person of color, Black, that is in the final 3, regardless if it takes us a couple more months, regardless if it takes us a couple more weeks. You're in control of everything when you own a business. I'm watching a lot of, listen, there's so many things I'm proud of and there's so many things that I can be doing better in every circuit of my life. But the one thing I'm not interested in at all is trying to come up with who else's fault it is but yours. Every single issue at VaynerMedia, all of them are 100% my fault because I'm empowering the people. If it's Sally Magoo or Ricky Magoo, those are the things I'm focused on, Nate.
Appreciate that, dude. Well, I know you have a sick daughter. I don't want to hold you.
I'm going to bounce, but everybody who's watching,
dude.
There's a lot more, and we'll get it in on that. Actually, go ahead. Get it in real quick. I want to get it in because I told you I would get it in. Yes.
No, we're not going to get the next question in. I know you have a sick daughter, dude.
Okay.
I don't want to hold you from your daughter. You're a human being. Just she.
August 4th, we'll be on.
August 4th. Allyship in action. Go to freelancercybersummit.com to register, and we'll drop the link in here.
Everybody in my community, follow this man right now. You see the handle up there. Go follow this man for a million different reasons, especially for all the entrepreneurs in here, Black, white, green, red. On that kick, starting from that ground zero, so many can associate with this man. So get on with that. And then I think by following him, you'll definitely not miss the URL. I'm sure it's in his profile. I'm sure his posts will be there. So I can't wait. I'll see you all next week. Love.
Appreciate you, Gary.
Take care.
Doug. All right, gang. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. That's a wrap, but you know what? I'll see you guys on August 4th. We're going to keep the conversation going then.